Tennessee at Georgia. Georgia 8-point favorite, over under 66.5. This game will obviously decide the division, decide who goes to the SEC championship game, potentially decide who goes to the college football playoff. For what it's worth, in AP 1 versus 2 matchups over the past 50 years, we've only seen 10 with a spread of over 7. The underdog in those 10 matchups is 8-2 against the spread and 7-3 straight up, stunningly. So, when I look at this game, I think everyone knows what I'm going to say. I love Tennessee. I've been higher than them in the market all year. I have a 14-1 to win the division. I'm not hedging it. When I look at Georgia's defense, all their metrics obviously look good, but who have they played? They haven't faced a competent passing offense since week 1 against Oregon, which was Bo Nix, who moved the ball, by the way. We talked about that after that game. Good success rate. But it was their first game together. New offense, all these new pieces. Like, I don't really take that much from that game. I've seen cracks in the Georgia defense. Kent State moved the ball. Even Missouri had success moving the ball. Florida just threw for 300, a completely incompetent passing offense. Now they're dealing with some injuries. Nolan Smith, who wasn't having a great year, but he's out. Carter, their great defensive lineman. Not only is he on a limited snap count, I don't know if he'll be able to get in the game. Georgia likes to rotate a lot of these defensive linemen. Not going to be able to do that against Tennessee. Very intriguing matchup, Georgia defense versus Tennessee offense, but I don't think this Georgia defense is ready for what's about to hit them. It is the number 1 EPA per play offense on first downs versus the number 1 defense. But like I said, Georgia hasn't faced a competent offense all year since that opening game. Meanwhile, Tennessee has shredded 4 top 20 defenses. Shredded. And now you add one of the best receivers in college football as a full go in Cedric Tillman, who is a big-time receiver and a big-game receiver. Had 10 catches for 200 yards against the elite, historic Georgia defense last year. I don't think the market is still caught up to Tennessee. I think it's going to happen again. Could be wrong, but this is too many points for me. I will be on the Vols, Rocky Top, and to the moon we go with Tennessee.
I disagree.
You're going to back Georgia?
I'm backing Georgia. I disagree completely.
Oh my God.
As a matter of fact, I am going to be large on Georgia. It's just a matter of, listen.
You said last week you were done.
I know. And the number was supposed to be 10. All right. And it's taken a lot of hits, and it's 7 I'm targeting 7 as a buy. The problem is all these books are getting down to 7.5 and it's getting gobbled up. And I expect major, major money on Tennessee. I mean, this is the cat's meow. Everybody wants a piece of the Volunteers right now. And I would venture out to say that if you think that they're going to win this game in Georgia's house as an underdog, you should go out and buy the national championship futures. Because if they do beat this team at this margin on the road, they're going to win the national title, period. I mean, you've proven enough. So, and by the way, they have advantages over Alabama in the potential SEC championship game. So if you think they win this game, I would take them to win the national title. Now, I'm not. And I need, I'll spend an extra minute here talking about how I broke down, how I got to this conclusion, because it's the biggest game of the weekend by far, biggest game of the year. Solving the Tennessee offense is not easy. Everybody's having problems with it. The offense is based on stretching the field as wide as possible and then running a veer and shoot between the tackles. So having a quarterback to, scramble for first downs also helps. But how do you defend that? And so I did a lot of research. Like I went and listened to Pat Narduzzi talk about how to defend Tennessee's defense, because he's seen it a couple of times with Josh Heupel. He's seen it at UCF, and he spoke very technical about how to do this. Now, if you go, before I get to what Narduzzi said, Alabama tried a thing called man free. And this is where you're essentially trying to clog the crossing routes and you're going to let the corners go one-on-one. Alabama got burned over and over on the outside. Jalen Hyatt is still running. Georgia has the 3 best corner combination as possible in the country. Javon Bullard, Tyke Smith, and Keely Ringo have combined, those 3 corners have combined for only allow 18 yards after catch when targeted 22 times in man coverage. And man coverage is what you're going to get here. and they're going to be expected to go one-on-one. These corners are going to go one-on-one on the outside, while you're going to get Bullard, who has allowed just one catch this season in man coverage in the slot corner. Who lines up in the slot corner? Jalen Hyatt. So Jalen Hyatt's going to line up in the slot, and he's drawing the best slot coverage defender, one of the best in the nation. So if they can play one-on-one against Jalen Hyatt, if they can play one-on-one against Tillman and Ramel Keaton on the outside, then that means that they can load the box and spy on Hooker for those attempts where he's running, whatever, if he's running the veer, the RPO, or if he's going to scramble. And because Smith and Ringo are able to limit Cedric Tillman and Keaton, and Bullard's able to limit Hyatt, that extra man in the box is going to stop those extra first downs that Hendon Hooker is going to get. And so I go back to what Narduzzi said. Narduzzi said the only way to beat Tennessee, because, by the way, Pitt held them to their lowest regulation amount all season, 27 points. That's it. And what he said is you have to run quarters. And what quarters is it's a man defense, but it's from 10 to 20 yards out. It's not press. It's not press coverage. It's back, and it's man. And you say, well, why is that important? Because Jalen Hyatt generally hears the snap, he gets off the ball, and then he's got one or two routes. It's an option for him too. The RPO is not just for running backs and for Hendon Hooker. It's for Jalen Hyatt to pick his route. And the problem with quarters is when Jalen Hyatt comes off the line of scrimmage, he can't recognize what the defense is 10 to 15 yards down the field because they're playing man in quarters, which is downfield. So huge advantages there that Georgia actually adopts. Georgia is the same aggressive defense that Pitt is. Georgia runs a lot of the same tendencies that they do. I expect they're going to run quarters to confuse the wide receivers after the snap. Now, on the other side of the ball, and so Stuck, do I think Tennessee's going to score? Yes. Do I think they're going to score a lot? Yes. Do I think they're going to get held to maybe 27 like Pitt did? Yeah, I do. With these three corners, people are not looking at how they have absolutely shut people down in man coverage, which is what Georgia's going to run. All right, now on the other side,
but they've shut down. They've played. They didn't play Eli Ricks. They played Samford, South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Florida after the opener. Not one above average passing offense, yet alone the best passing offense in the country that now adds one of the best receivers in the country. So of course their stats are going to be off the charts. But this Georgia defense to me is just like Kent State putting up 22 and moving the ball on you all day. Look at Kent State in the MAC. They can't even win a game in the MAC. There's cracks here. They haven't played any competent passing offenses since the opener. And look, they don't get any pressure this year. And now Nolan Smith's gone. They're 127th in adjusted sack rate. Can't get any pressure.
But they don't try. That's the whole thing. People are like, they don't have any pass rush. They only send 3 and they use the spy in a delayed blitz scenario.
And they're still, but they're not getting anything. Like Hooker's going to be untouched this entire game. And this secondary and this defense, which lost, 15 pros, has not come close to facing. They've basically played little sisters of the poor offenses for the past 7 weeks. And now all of a sudden you're going up against a juggernaut. Whereas Tennessee has played 4 top 20 defenses and put up 50 every time. The one they didn't, which is a good point, but schematically with Pitt, and Pitt's defense has been dreadful since. But I think adding Tillman is a game changer for this offense. The other side of the ball, I do think that Georgia's going to move it, but you have to throw on Tennessee.
Yeah.
But and I think their tight ends are going to have a big day. The tight ends, when they played a couple of the, Latu and Bartholomew, the premier tight ends have big days. Yeah, the tight ends are going to have big days for Georgia, but the receivers aren't great. They're banged up. They also have red zone issues on offense. That's big because Tennessee plays like a bend, don't break. Like you can throw short pass. I'm sure Georgia was short passing the death all day, but Tennessee holds them to field goals here. That's all they need to do. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say this at the end. Georgia's the number 1 team in red zone scoring. So, okay, but see if you agree with me on this side of the ball. It sounds like you do, right? So on the other side of the ball, nobody on Tennessee is stopping Brock Bowers at all. And you know what? If you double coverage them, which I'm not sure is going to happen or if they can even do that because of how much Brock Bowers moves around, he's just impossible to defend. You're right. They've got another tight end that's as big of a house who's doing pen blocking and just being a one-man wrecking crew. Tennessee does not have a single defensive player ranked in the top 200 in individual coverage. They don't have a single player in the top 200 in slot coverage. And where does Brock Bowers line up? 141 times from the slot, 68 snaps at the line, and 21 as a wideout. And that doesn't mention the fact that Georgia goes heavy motion. And when I heard Georgia goes heavy motion, that really triggered something with me. The key to stressing the Tennessee defense was laid out by Florida. They used heavy motion and counter. That's all they did with Anthony Richardson, trying to get a read pre-snap and then counter post-snap. And if Anthony Richardson can read this defense and get the cover and have like this monster comeback in, on Tennessee's home turf, Georgia's going to be able to do the same. Tennessee doesn't have one single defender that can stop Brock Bowers, no matter if he's an H-back, a running back, a tight. It doesn't matter where he lines up. They're not going to be able to stop him. And of course, if they have drives that get past the 40, like I said, Georgia right now, 97.8% in red zone. They've scored 46 of 47 trips. So to me, this is Georgia all the way. I believe, and really the biggest handicap you can hear, will Tyke Smith and Keely Ringo have success on the outside playing corners and man-to-man one-on-one coverage while Javon Bullard tries to shut down Jalen Hyatt on the inside. It's the handicap on the game. And I think Georgia will be highly successful on defense and confusing Hendon Hooker. And on the other side, I don't see Georgia getting stopped. So from a market perspective, you agree with me that do you think this number is going to 7? Like, would you buy Tennessee at 8? Because if you're Georgia, you're waiting to get 7. I think every person in the world that's been waiting on Georgia is waiting for a 7. If you're Tennessee, would you suggest that people buy it now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to get a 10, and I make it 5. I've been on Tennessee the entire year, every game, and they just cover every game. So I'm eventually you're going to be right fading them, but I'm way ahead on the market, and eventually, yeah, they're not going to cover, but yeah, I make it 5, and I might still be too low on Tennessee's offense with Tillman back. And yeah, I don't think from watching this Georgia defense, there's just cracks, and you can't really there's not a lot of data against any competent offenses. I got to look at Colin Schlee throwing the ball on them and moving the ball up and down the field. So yeah, there's cracks here. Obviously, their secondary grades out elite. They're playing like Auburn's passing offense and Missouri's passing offense. And I know that Tennessee's been tested. They played ranked teams like 5 weeks in a row, and they cover by, 10 points every game. The one game they didn't cover is when you were on them against Florida. So yeah, I love Tennessee here. I also have questions about the Georgia offense, and they're not going to run the ball here. They're going to be able to throw their tight ends a lot. And I think they're going to score. It's not the handicap here for me. This is just like the Alabama game. And there'll be sharp money, people that haven't adjusted their numbers enough yet, just like there was against Alabama. Might be late money, gets to 9. It's the same exact scenario as the Alabama game. 90% of every person, 90% of the betting public is on Tennessee. I don't care. I'm with them, just like the Alabama game. And I think it goes down to the wire. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But hopefully they went outright for the division future. Should be a good one.